So there.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
So there.
So there.
So there.
Let me know your thoughts.
Why do you keep saying let us know your thoughts?
Let me know your thoughts to me is a nice lead-in for So There. So There. Welcome to episode 63 of So There. I'm Tom Karamitis.
And I'm Gary Doyle.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Yeah?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so here we are. It's
You didn't do what I was trying to do. Do
What?
the whole podcast of just saying, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
maybe you can save that for your next solo pod. Just you saying yeah.
Hey, we haven't done the solo pod in a while.
Maybe we're overdue.
For our listeners out there, Tom and I we always start, as you probably know, the way we communicate with each other is usually through voicemail messages. And so we always start our messages with, yeah, and kind of in the style of Lumbergh from Office Space, the smarmy boss. Yeah, I'm going to need you to get those TTP reports in. Yeah. And super condescending and yeah, so that's how. So I thought we could do an entire episode just going, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it does go on for about a minute or so, and anyway. I still find it amusing. Yeah,
You're probably the only one. I'm pretty certain of that. So what's on your mind, Tom, this nice Saturday afternoon?
it's funny. I've got a whole cornucopia of insignificant things and observations.
Cornucopia, big word.
Yeah, SAT word. But I was blown away by a radio commercial I heard, and I wanted to mention this to Gary Doyle because it has probably the most brilliant tagline I have ever heard, ever. It was a commercial for the American Cremation Society.
Nice.
And the tagline was...
That's your dream freelance client. My dream freelance client, anyway.
Well, I don't think you should dream or aspire to do it anymore because the tagline they came up with cannot be beaten. Here was the tagline for the American Cremation Society. Think outside the box. It's genius, right? It's cremation. It's don't be buried, be cremated.
Oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah, nice.
You're not as blown away as I was. I just stared at that.
Blown away. I'll admit it, as as a writer by trade, and of course the creative director of the pod, my mind immediately started going to taglines, and one popped into my head that I think is better than that.
Whoa.
Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
American Cremation Society. The must for dust to dust.
Considering you just kind of, improvise that a little bit right off the cuff, I think that's better than workmanlike, certainly.
How about this? Don't get burned by anyone else.
You're welcome. That's good. That's good. But you got to admit, think outside the box, just on every level. It gets people. You want people to think about cremation as a burial, as an alternative to burial. So I don't know. I just thought that it was absolutely perfect. Tom Karamitis was the group creative director in the creative review for the American Cremation Society. I would have stood up and said, "Meeting over," and walked out.
Join Cremation Nation. because we could see this like as a movement, man. I guess it's a pitch to the client. Because like, you know, it's like a movement of people that are dead, but still like they move, which is really incredible. And so we call it Cremation Nation, and it rhymes. And, you know, and who doesn't want to be part of a nation?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking it's just like every damn sports team in existence. They put nation after their team's name, you know?
Yeah. Penguin Nation.
So there.
Smashing start, Tom.
I thought so.
Tom, as you may or may not know, you probably don't know, because I don't think you're a big movie guy, but tomorrow is the Academy Awards.
I saw a movie this time.
Okay. Let's talk about that in a bit. But for, you know, an annual tradition on the podcast is for Gary Doyle to comment on all 10 movies quickly, all 10 nominated movies for Best Picture, very quickly, in something we call
Lightning Round.
So, Tom, as you probably know, my bride Lisa and I try to see all 10 movies once they're nominated, so we've seen all but one. We did not see American Fiction, or we may see it tonight, although Gary Doyle does not pay for $20 for a rental in general. My bride will always say, well, it'd be more than that if we went to the theater. I'm like, yeah, but there'd be a ginormous screen, so haven't seen American Fiction, but the rest of them I've seen. Here we go. Anatomy of a Fall, solid courtroom drama. Barbie, excellent, witty, girl power, man-hating satire. Holdovers, good, worth seeing, but not on the level of Alexander Payne's best, i.e. Election, Sideways, The Descendants, the writer, art director of that movie. Killers of the Flower Moon, or my kids made fun of me because I kept calling it Flowers of the Killer Moon by accident. This was a slog. No movie should be 3 hours unless it's Goodfellas, Godfather, or Apocalypse Now. Maestro, pretentious. Everyone talked with a strange accent. Didn't make it more than a half hour in. Oppenheimer, great idea for a movie. Inventor of the atomic bomb, tormented by the destructive forces he unleashed, but in reality a bore as a movie. Again, 3 hours. Stop at Hollywood. If Restaurant Bob Ackerman is listening, Bob, please edit these movies. Past Lives, remember nothing about it. Poor Things, expected to hate it because the filmmaker's previous two movies, The Lobster and The Favorite, were borderline unwatchable, but surprisingly good, extremely weird, but loved the inventiveness of this. And finally, my favorite movie of the year, Zone of Interest, about a family that lives just outside the Auschwitz concentration camp and goes about their lives as if there's nothing abnormal about it. Haunting, unexpected choices stays with you. That's Gary Doyle's
Lightning Round.
for this year's Oscar-nominated movies. So there.
You know, I actually I saw more of the movies than I usually do.
I thought you said you'd seen one.
Well, and then you're mentioning the titles. Oh yeah, I saw that. Oh yeah, I saw that. Two movies that you mentioned, I did not see all the way through. I just couldn't do it for different reasons. One was Barbie, which I didn't get, and obviously I'm not the target. But Kristen didn't really like Barbie either, and she's a girl.
Whoa. She's a girl.
So
yeah.
we aborted that. Oppenheimer we aborted halfway through because I found the whole movie was mumbled. I just felt like, it was mumbled. It was whispered. They kind of just, I don't know, all over the place with when are we jumping all over the world in time and stuff. I find it just was a heavy slog for me to keep up. So we didn't have the energy to watch it as part two. I totally agree with you. I did not see Killers of the Flower Moon for the exact reason you mentioned. I'm sorry. You need to be able to tell your story in under 3 hours. Maestro, I thought Maestro was a nice piece of filmmaking. It was a bit of a shoulder shrug in the end. It was not a disaster, but it felt like it really.
Did you notice the way they talked? They all kind of had this weird accent, and they all kind of talked like this unplaceable sort of accent. Did you notice that?
Yeah, something? That's funny you mention that. In the old days of filmmaking, in the 40s and 50s, they used to refer to that, I think, as the continental accent, when all those actors spoke the same way.
Yeah.
Kind of liked Maestro, but in the end, I thought it was a little self-important. And then the other movie, which I enjoyed quite a bit, The Holdovers.
Yes.
Paul Giamatti. I actually thought that was quite good.
Good. Well, Tom Karamitis has done better than usual with the Oscar movies. Pretty good. Oppenheimer, agree. Yeah. Also, I'm baffled by the lead actor's Cillian Murphy winning every award, and he's probably going to win tomorrow night. I thought his performance was so flat, so bland, so boring. He was like this expressionless character. And maybe that's how Oppenheimer was, but I don't see that as acting.
Yeah, to use an overused word we use in the pod a lot, I just felt like he was doing a lot of brooding. A lot of sitting there and just listening with a broodful expression.
I think I would have enjoyed his performance more if he had brooded a little bit more, and perhaps received a phone call from someone asking if he was brooding because they hadn't heard from Oppenheimer in a few days. So there. What's that?
No, I was going to do a little. The moment has passed. When you so there'd, the moment was past. So you'll just have to wonder what very funny thing I was about to say.
I see what you did there. You turned so there to a verb. I so there'd you.
And to that point, I don't think it would be a complete podcast if I didn't throw at you another noun as verb from Quicken QuickBooks commercial. That's how you business differently.
It makes me want to quit the business.
As we've discussed before, it will not stop.
It's like getting upset about people, which I do. I get upset at people talking loudly on their cell phones in public, but I really need to stop because it's not going to stop. People aren't going to stop talking loudly on their cell phones. So I can't get upset about turning nouns into verbs, advertising creatives turning nouns into verbs, because it's just never going to stop.
Has Gary Doyle done a noun as verb yet in any of his work?
I have just recently. I'm not at liberty to talk about which one, because it's for a client of mine.
So you obviously...
I would like to not talk about it.
All right. Be that way. Obviously, then, Gary Doyle believes there is great merit at times to noun as verb.
I was desperate. So there.
All right, I have a rhetorical comment for you. Okay.
Whoa.
If Honda really gets Chicagoland, they wouldn't call it Chicagoland. Chicagoland is like saying Hollywood. No one actually calls it that.
Do they say they get Chicagoland?
Honda really gets Chicagoland. It's a commercial, and they'll show I think that the only point in the commercial they make is they say in Chicago, if it's not winter, it's pothole season or something like that, and then they. At the end, it's the local dealer association, Chicago. Honda really gets Chicagoland. Have you ever heard anybody other than an out-of-town advertiser ever say Chicagoland?
No. I have a question for you, Tom. What are you doing to celebrate Ford Truck Month?
Well, we're putting up our annual, the axle that we put up from a Ford truck. I'm going to decorate it. But yeah, it's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the Doyles take your shoes off at the door, people?
Interesting you bring this up, Tom. Interesting. I just issued a fatwa. Lisa and I said to Lisa, I don't want anybody coming in our house with shoes on anymore. Because I've always suspected, I've had this growing sense that it's kind of gross. And then I read a few days ago an article that said, don't wear your shoes indoors. It's like 96% of shoes that have been worn outside have E. coli bacteria on them, is what the article said, if they're more than 2 weeks old. That means you're literally walking poop into your house, and it's just kind of gross. So I issued a fatwa, Tom Karamitis style fatwa, on people wearing shoes in the house, and Lisa concurred.
All right, so what does that mean in practice? Right? Tom and Kristen Karamitis come over for dinner, the long overdue dinner invitation at the Doyles. We walk in the door, and what happens?
Are you serious? What is so hard to understand about this? You come in, we politely say, would you mind taking your shoes off? So there.
What you should say is, hey, you guys are coming over for dinner next week. We should let you know that we're kind of those weird inflexible shoes off people. So if your feet get cold, you may want to bring slippers with you or something. Because that's my biggest thing about the shoes. I don't like being barefoot. I am uncomfortable being barefoot. Even if it's just socks, I'm uncomfortable. Wooden floors are slippery. My feet get cold. If I'm home, yeah, I'll put slippers on. I think you should give people a fair slipper warning, or have complimentary slippers at a variety of sizes at the door.
You know what happens to retired people like you, people that are, shall we say, getting up in years, is, and I'm being serious, they break their toes on things walking around the house. So someone just said the other day they always wear slippers in the house, not because of the bacteria thing, but because they don't want to break their toe, stubbing it on a chair or a corner.
I've never heard of that. But my feet have always gotten cold. I don't like being barefoot. And I feel like, okay, so like if you're going to, I find now if you're going to look at a house, right, a realtor thing, and they'll have those little whatever those things are, right?
Yeah,
and that's fine, but you're only in there for whatever, 15, 20 minutes and you're on your way. But to come over for the Doyles for a luxuriously prepared, sumptuous dinner, you and Lisa are going to be quite comfortable. You'll be wearing slippers. But poor Tom Karamitis, barefoot in his socks. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you came over,
I don't know
to
what to say.
house,
You don't. We're going to get letters at sothere@yahoo.com.
No, we won't.
About this, and people are going to say that just like the bidet, Tom Karamitis does not grasp the concept of taking your shoes off when you go to somebody's home.
I think part of being a good host is looking out for the comfort of your guests. And if your guests, now, provided they're not tracking in mud and snow and all that, but if your guests are more comfortable with shoes on, that's the price you pay for having guests over, letting them be comfortable. All right? Because I'm telling you right now, if we walked to your front door and you and Lisa looked us in the eye and said, shoes off, I would look at Kristen, then we would turn around, we would go home, stopping at Burger King first, but then go home.
Guess what, Tom? Our goal is to make all guests uncomfortable, either physically or emotionally. So there. Tom, if Gary Doyle was king of the world, I would issue some fatwas for the world to obey in something we call
I decree.
Tom, if I were king, I would decree that when there's a weather event like there was a week or two ago with the tornadoes that we stop with the weather overkill. Oh my God, it's out of control. You remember this? A couple weeks ago, there were the tornadoes going through the area and all that, and oh my gosh, there were weather alerts on your computer. You're watching TV, and this thing comes on, and the weather forecasters are like, tornadoes are coming in 10 minutes, and there's next door alerts, and storm chasers, NBC5 News, Jim Cantori, Eye of the Storm out there in the wind and the rain. Jim, what's it like out there? Tom Skilling is showing this map with little cartoon tornadoes all over it. It's out of control.
Yeah, I think the media has become very breathless over weather. In fact, how many times have you heard the expression once in a century storm recently in the past few years? Big rains, big flooding rains, a once in a century storm. It's a little overcooked. I will say we got a tornado within about 5 miles of us. And we didn't retreat to the basement, but it is, if the desired effect is to unnerve people with that shrill alarm coming out of your phone and your TV getting preempted, then it had the desired effect. I would agree. Yeah.
Lisa was getting panicky text threads from all of her friends. We're going to the basement. We're in the thick of it. Get to the basement.
Better safe than sorry, my friend.
Whoa. So there.
Have you noticed lately the preponderance of absolutely nonsensical company names that I find quite irritating? And I think this is going to get me in trouble, but two of them I feel like were conceived by 17-year-old girls. One of them it's a fashion site, I guess, to order fashion wear called The Real Real. TheRealReal.com. I just feel like every time I see it, I think I kind of in my brain imitate The Real Real. Kind of like that old, that Valley Girl speak from the 1990s or whenever it was. And another fashion site is called Rue, R-U-E, Rue La La.
Oh, that's awful.
Shouldn't you know a little bit? And this kind of segues a little bit into when we talked about Angie's List becoming Angie. Shouldn't you kind of have a rough idea in a vacuum as to what this business is, right? The Real Real. Rue La La. Okay. Rue La La. Okay, I get it. It's probably a fashion thing. Okay. Ooh la la.
I don't agree with that. It could be oat milk.
What? Rue La La?
Yeah, it could be anything.
Right.
Those aren't as bad as, even worse than that, are the nonsensical names that are clearly like market tested, computer generated, kind of smashing two words together, like Ameriprise Financial or Qualcomm. Get it? We're a quality communications company.
I never thought of that one.
Xfinity, kind of vaguely, infinity's a good thing. Xfinity, just those nonsense words that you can tell they kind of folks group tested, and people are like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Ameritrade. It's America and they trade. Sure.
I got it. I know what they do.
I get it.
Well, then on the other side, I think sometimes we're too critical of stuff we see out there. I would like to praise two advertisers who I think have done what I consider just a genius job of creating these wonderful environments, these wonderful ensemble casts of characters that I look forward to seeing in all the commercials. The two that come to mind are Progressive and Wendy's. I think Wendy's now has the kind of quirky, weird guy, and then his boss behind the counter, and they got a few other people. Progressive, I think they started the whole thing. What started out as just Flo, and then just kind of mushroomed out from there. I look forward to, I look forward to they're well written. I gotten to know these characters. They all have different personalities and stuff, and I just really enjoy it. Yeah. Now, is Progressive the same? Does Progressive do the guy who is always instructing people who think they're becoming their parents? Remember, he's like,
yeah.
Is that Progressive? Okay.
Progressive cannot stop you from becoming your parents.
Yeah. Okay.
But they can but save you when you bundle on auto and home.
Right. But that guy is not part of, obviously, the ensemble of Flo and her friends.
No, that's a different campaign.
Right. Isn't it interesting how that's kind of become a thing more, right? I mean, advertisers like Geico was the first one I remember, and I guess maybe it's just an insurance thing. Allstate did it because they had Mayhem, and then they had Dennis Haysbert, and they kind of had these different worlds going at the same time. I guess that's what happens when you have a gigantic advertising budget, right?
Yeah. We're gonna have like 6 different campaigns going on at one time.
Because we can afford to do so.
You're welcome, America. So there.
Gary, have you seen the commercials for Viking Cruise, the Viking Cruise Line, which these are giant cruise ships that basically do rivers in Europe, basically. And it seems to have totally they're incredibly expensive, and they seem to have kind of totally embraced the idea of just embracing unabashedly pursuing their target, not caring who they offend. But they've got a commercial now where they make a point to say, "No children and no casinos." So, they're obviously not going after the Carnival Cruise Line clientele. But then the thing
do they say it in that maestro-like voice?
Well, they've got a very over-the-top. I wouldn't be surprised if this is an American woman doing an over-the-top British accent, because it's just so over-the-top. But that part of it, that line, "No children, no casinos," I found amusing. But what I found kind of offensive is they have a line in the commercial where she says that they're catering to the thinking person. And they show a shot of an elderly white man looking over the railing of the ship off into the distance. And I thought, you know what? Come on. The thinking person, wink, wink, we're pursuing old, rich white people. And I just, I don't know. But, I guess it's like any other very, very premium brand. They make no secret of who they're going after. And son, if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
At least they didn't do.
What's that?
That's from the Viking. That's the Viking horn that Tom Karamitis fears. That they play in Minnesota Vikings games whenever they get a big play. Tom Karamitis hates it. Loathes it.
I find cruise line advertising very interesting as well. I mean, it used to just be I kind of thought, they're all the same, but now it's, you have the party cruises, you have the rich, the very rich older white people cruises, and then they have another one. I guess Carnival Cruise Line has kind of reestablished their link to the old 70s, 80s series, The Love Boat, even using the theme song from the show. Just very interesting.
I don't see the difference that you do. Every cruise line commercial that I've ever seen in my life has somebody going down one of those water slides into the pool.
Yes, I would say the majority of the ones that are advertising on TV are the party cruises, and they want to get the whole family to come out, so they basically create an amusement park on a ship. But you should look out for the Viking Cruise Line because they have no children and no casinos.
It would be great. It would be a great media buy. Would be for the American Cremation Society to run to run their ad right after the cruise line ad. So the cruise line ad is like people having fun, conga lines, doing the limbo, going down a water slide. Into the cremation ad is like, you're going to die. Wouldn't that be powerful?
And since you're going to die, we challenge you to think outside the box. That would be funny. Actually, maybe the American Cremation Society could do like some seminars on some of these cruise ships, kill two birds with one stone.
All right, everybody. Tom and I need to go. We're going to go pitch the American Cremation Society as a sponsor for So There and say, we actually have done some of your creative.
I like that, but you don't tell them that they could listen to the podcast, then they'd hear your great taglines. I was going to say,
yeah,
sponsor our podcast, son, and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so for Tom Karamitis, this is Gary Doyle saying,
So there.